Alright guys, they're going to change out my auxiliary fan on my E39 530i. Now these aux fans are a little pusher fan on the front of the radiator. You can see over here, they turn on whenever the AC's on or whenever the car goes into overheat mode. They're a two-stage, two-speed fan. And of course this works together with the fan clutch, the mechanical fan over here. Now some people can actually run just the auxiliary fan. You just run the risk of course, you know, if that fan goes out, you don't have a fan clutch, you're out of luck. So my E-fan went out about a few days ago, and I noticed some higher temps on the freeway. I'm in traffic, but while I'm driving, almost no difference. You will notice a higher temperatures at idle, but anyways, let's cut to the chase and let's change this thing out. Under the glove box area, there's a 40 amp fuse. For the E-fan, it might be a 50 amp fuse actually. If that fuse is intact, you've checked other sort of potential causes, then you have to change the fan out. And to confirm this, what I did is I actually unplugged the fan. If you loosen this headlight, the fan connector is hiding right over here, and I'll put a picture of what that looks like. But essentially, you can actually run a multimeter to the connector on the car side of things, and you can see if there's a 12-volt signal coming to the fan. And of course, if there's a 12-volt coming to the fan and the fan's not turning on, well, either the resistor pack or the motor is dead. And also, just to make sure that the wiring was good, I put a 12-volt signal to the fan itself with the battery out of the car. Nothing happened, so I'm assuming the resistors or fan is dead. It's the original fan, so I'm not too surprised. It's about 20 years old, more than that actually. So let's get started and change this thing out. We will have to take off the front bumper, which just involves unplugging a bunch of stuff, fog lights, PDC sensors if you got that. You can see I'm actually missing two because a pothole in the freeway decided to knock those loose, and they're long gone. I'll fix that later. Also, if you have under shields or splash shields below the car, you'll have to undo those. Now my car has none of that. It's been just fine without them, so I don't need to take those off. I'll just be undoing the main bolts, which are two T50 torque screws under the front of the bumper over there. You would usually have some screws over here as well, but well, my car doesn't have those, so I'm also missing a fender liner, but don't mind, it's fine, it's all good. Here comes one of the two T50s, pretty long bolt, just like so. With the bumper off, so we're left with, it looks kind of cool actually with the tires showing through, which of course is not ideal. You can see my mess of wiring needs to get fixed up. I need to fix a PDC sensor wire, which has left the chat, but the rest of it's looking pretty good. But here's our aux fan, of course, which has to come out. Now, we can actually take off this little cone over here. I think you can do this without doing that part, but I still will because for the sake of easy access, and it looks like it's not that bad to take off. This is the E-fan connector here. You can see that mine actually has little grommets popping out. We gotta make sure those go back in there. But this is where I tested for voltage. Like I said, the headlight kind of partially out. You can access that pretty easily. You can see I'm actually missing my lower grill for the aux fan. So the new one will have that already. Let's get this piece off. Now, most cars will have these snorkels over here for the air boxes. If you have a V8, you have both of these filled up with snorkels. Inline 6 is just this side. I've actually taken mine off for more sound and potentially better airflow. It does sound nicer. It does feel a bit quicker too, but I can't say anything significant. But yeah, let's get this part off and then we can go ahead and replace the fan. There are a few clips up here you can see. Just use a flathead screwdriver. Be very careful though, because they can break pretty easily, and you'll see some more kind of throughout this whole sort of fixture. You may want to consider taking the headlights off, although I think it's possible without doing so. Just an idea. All right, with the bumper off, let's take off the headlights, or at least loosen them up a bit to get better access to the bolts behind. Here's the new fan over here. You can see there's 4 bolts that hold the fan in place, 2 of which are accessible without taking off this front cone piece. But 2 of them are not really accessible. So we'll loosen up the headlight to get better access. We just have some clips up top, and then of course we have some 8mm screws kind of spread out, one of which is behind this headlight. Should be 4 total screws, 3 clips. Just got my very broken nose cone off, but you can see there's actually a small air. Just got my very broken nose cone off. There were actually 3 screws only, 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th slot there was actually this plastic clip over here, which held some zip ties in place for the wiring, so I have to put a new zip tie there. And of course these 3 guys on the very top of the nose cone there. Now you can see we have easy access to the fan itself. It's just a matter of unbolting it and unplugging it. Let's do that. And it looks like it's a 13mm.
A few moments later.
Well, just tested it out and it looks like we're all good to go. It works just fine as it's expected. AC was on, of course. Just plugged it in real quick to make sure before I put the rest of the car back together. Quick side note, I would usually get a genuine BMW one, but that costs about $600 to $700. which I don't really want to focus over right now. There was a Mahle Bear one, which was $200, but it's been back ordered currently. So I got this one from my local parts supplier. The brand is Hudson. They've been making some OEM or OE style parts, at least, for BMWs and other brands as well. I have heard some quality complaints. They're not made in Germany, they're made in Mexico, which should be fine in most cases, but we'll see how long this lasts, and if it lasts a long time, we should be good. If not, I'll be changing it again. Yeah, typically I would get the Mahle Bear one if it was available, but at the moment it wasn't. But taking a look between the two units, I can tell you they look almost identical completely. One small difference I've noticed, which is common with Mexican-made parts versus the German ones, is that and this is not a bad thing, it's a difference I've noticed, is that they use Phillips head screws versus the German sort of Torx. It just kind of depends on the product, but just something I've noticed in more recent times. For those of you curious, this is the OEM Siemens one versus the Hudson one. They are near identical. Like I said, aside from those screws, you'll notice that even the little stamping where they put the date codes on the OEM one, there's a similar stamp right over here. They must use the same moldings because even the actual motor design, exactly the same. So that does give me some better feelings about this as well. But I'll let you guys know if it fails. I'll put a little comment down below if it does, but for the time being, this should be good for my trip to Texas, which this car will be doing soon. Did the alternator last week, doing this today, new fan clutch today as well, and a bunch of other random things I've been doing on this car. New radiator as well. I feel like I've replaced things with this car twice now, but you know, here's what it is. It's part of the game. Anyways, I'll be back when the car is reassembled. Very happy to report that E39 with this new aux fan made it to Texas successfully and had absolutely no issues along the way, even in 115-degree weather in Arizona areas. It was fantastic, and the aux fan is still holding up several thousand miles later, so I can definitely recommend this fan so far, but I'll give you guys any updates if I have any more that come in the next coming months or years. Leave a like if this video helped you out, and consider subscribing for more E39 content in the future. See you guys on the next one.
Yeah.